Peace, love, many blessings, much life to Israel and to those who are being awakened. Much peace, love, many blessings to the strangers who are sojourning with us, enduring with us on this journey back to Yahweh and his laws, and who are enduring until the end of this age. My name is Z. Some people call me Zay. I prefer Zay, but you can call me Z. I don't mind it. I am going to be spending the next handful of videos going over the law, just strictly the law. I'll probably do one law per video, but I am going to be starting with the 10 Commandments, which is in Exodus chapter 20. So bear with me as I bear with you. Be patient with me. I'll be patient with you guys. Ask me any questions. Put them in the comments. Put them in the chat. Like this video. Subscribe to my Natural Order page, guys. Anyway, let's kick this off. Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. And you will see me going through my notes here. I got my scripts right here. I do read from the Sefer. However, I do also have my King James Version Bible handy here. A lot of people have the little red booklet, the little red apocrypha. I do not have that. Why? Well, I do have it. I don't have it handy. Why? Because the Sefer, if you do not have one, it has all the books of the apocrypha. You say apocrypha, right? Including the book of Jasher, including the book of Enoch, including the book of Jubilees. So let's kick things off. Like I said, Exodus chapter 20, we're going to begin with the very first law that God gives Israel, right? And that is, do not have any other gods before me at this time during history, right? Israel was just coming out of Egypt, out of bondage, out of slavery, right? And this particular scene, Moses was up in Mount Sinai receiving the laws from the Most High to bring back down to the people of Israel before they inhabited the promised land. Okay. They were coming out of a culture that was polytheistic. So from the time Joseph all the way up until the time of the liberation of Israel out of Egypt by Moses, a number of generations, right? You can understand and see how they will adopt a polytheistic a mindset of a polytheistic culture, right? Why they would be celebrating, worshiping other gods. In fact, one of the gods, the god of love, beauty, joy, fertility, motherhood, she was depicted as a cow or a calf or a woman with cow ears or bull horns. The name of this Egyptian god was Hathor, right? And it just so happens that while Moses was up in Mount Sinai, getting the laws from the Most High God Yahweh. The people got restless. They got tired of waiting. They didn't know what happened to Moses at this time. And I'm not going to go scripture by scripture by scripture. I'm going to give a general overview. I will read some scripture, but I'm just going to give a general overview of what's happening, right? And this, you all should be reading your scripts anyway. You can read this in the book of Exodus, the book of Exodus, all right? But anyway, the people of Israel, while waiting for Moses to come down from the mountain, from receiving the laws of the Most High God, Yahweh, they became restless. They became impatient, right? They didn't know what happened to Moses. In my opinion, they thought he probably died up there. So, they did not wait for him to come down. Actually, what they did was go to Aaron and tell Aaron, hey, make us a god with our hands, with your hands, make us a god, fashion us a god, so that we can say that this God led us out of Egypt, right? And so what Aaron did was take all of these, he took of the people earrings and gold and jewelry and all that stuff, fashioned a calf. See where I'm going? He fashioned a calf, a bull, out of all of this stuff. And the people said, hey, this is our God. This is the person this is the deity that brought us up out of Egypt. Now, it seems to suggest that there was more than one God, right? And this is where I got the notion to look up any other Egyptian bull gods, because they fashioned a god. Obviously, they're coming out of Egypt, so there has to be multiple gods, probably depicted by multiple different animals, right? And so I researched, and there is another god, Happy, right? Or Hap. I think later during some time he was later known as Apis, which is the Greek name for him. But someone's calling me. But anyway, here's my thought, right? They came over a body of water. Right? In order to get to, or to escape Egypt, right? And then after this, they fashioned a god and said, this is the God that brought us out of Egypt, right? And so this God, this deity, Happy, an Egyptian god. Remember, we're dealing with a polytheistic culture, right? This Egyptian god, Happy, just so happens to be the Egyptian god of the Nile River. Now, some people believe that the Red Sea was not the body of water that the Israelites passed over. A lot of people believe it's the Nile. It would make sense because Happy is depicted as a bull, a calf, a cow, and he just so happens to be the god of the Nile. It would make sense that they will worship a calf, a bull, and fashion a calf or a bull who just brought them across the waters into or out of the land of Egypt. Why would this God do that, being that he is a god of Egypt? I don't know. Like I said, this is just my theory, but a lot of people do believe that the Nile River is the large body of water that the Israelites passed over, and not necessarily the Red Sea. But anyway, let's get back to this. Like this God Happy, he he is who I believe, after looking up this word calf, and it's actually it suggests that this calf was male, so it could be this Egyptian god Happy, right? Um, Here's the question, right? After they saw and witnessed firsthand that Yahweh brought them out, after all these signs, right? They saw and witnessed firsthand, right? But apparently they figured this person doesn't exist. Now, like I said, coming from this polytheistic mindset, obviously they're gonna go back to what they are used to, right? They spent 400 years in this culture, 430 years in this culture, right? So they're going to revert back to what they're used to. It's not easy coming out of things that that you are used to, right? And so how did the Most High feel about this, right? So Exodus 32:7 said, the people have, when he told Yahweh, while Moses was up talking to Yahweh, he told Moses to go down because the people have corrupted themselves, right? And here's what we're going to figure out how the Most High felt about him. He said, felt about the people of Israel. Yah said, Israel have corrupted themselves. They're a stiff-necked people, and he wanted to kill all of them. He wanted to kill them all, right? Until Moses intervened. They had a conversation. Hey, God, please, come on, man. What the Egyptians gonna say? What they gonna say? You brought them out of Egypt just to kill them in a mountain somewhere? Remember your name. Remember your promise that you made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And like I said, I'm paraphrasing because I'm gonna touch some scripture, but I'm not gonna read the whole thing word for word, right? So this is how the Most High felt about them reverting back to a mindset to worship other gods, right? This is why he gave the very first commandment to not to worship any other god. So he said these people have corrupted themselves, right? They are down there destroying themselves, right? He said this stiff-necked people, right? He called them a stiff-necked people, and he wanted to kill all of them. The specific words was he wanted to consume. He said, Moses, man, get the hell out of my way. I'm about to kill all these people, until he intervened. So we can go, and this is just showing you how the Most High felt about them worshiping another god. He wanted to kill them. Right now, let's go back to a time frame before that. Let's go back to Noah's flood. And a lot of you probably think that I'm going to go to the book of Genesis. I'm not, because the book of Jasher is a little more detailed, and you're going to see why I'm going to the book of Jasher. Right, and I'm going through my notes. You're going to see why I'm going to go to the book of Jasher, chapter 6, right? And this is during the time Noah was on the ark speaking to the people, right? After he had built this ark, put his family and animals on this ark, right? The book of Jasher, chapter 6, explained that 700,000 people came and approached the ark. Obviously, men, women, you gotta believe children was there too. They came to the door of the ark and they begged Moses. They begged Noah to open the door and let them on. Moses said, hey man, go back 120 years ago. I told y'all that this was going to happen. Why are you coming up to me now and saying, hey, let us on? I told y'all Yahweh, God, he was furious with all of you. Why? Because it also explains that they did not believe that Yahweh existed. right? So they did not believe that Yahweh existed. Now, there had to be some sort of time frame to where there was no action from Yahweh, only to, with the exception of his prophet, which is Noah in this case, right? But because of the quote unquote absence of Yahweh, and I'm using absence for lack of a better term, but because of no activity from Yahweh, they made up in my mind, hey, well, this Yahweh does not exist. Sounds familiar? When Moses was up in the mountain, right, there was no activity. Yahweh was dealing with one person. During the time of Moses, he was dealing with Moses. During the time of Noah, he was dealing with Noah, right? And all the other people was just like, hey, where is he? I guess he doesn't exist, which would explain why Israel during the time of Moses built fashioned another quote unquote God or idol, right? They went into idolatry. So we have to assume that during the time of Noah, that the people went into idolatry as well, and they believed that Yahweh did not exist, right? So after Noah explained, hey, 120 years I've been preaching that it's going to rain, it's going to rain, it's going to rain, get yourself together, right? He explained this, right? In fact, you said, this is Noah talking. In fact, Noah said to the people, listen, you said he doesn't exist. The people responded back to Noah, hey, we're going to believe now. We're going to return to Yahweh. And Noah said, wait a minute, hold on, player. After all this time, you said in your hearts and in your minds and probably out loud too, Yahweh's going to exist. Now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble. Now you want to say, hey, let's return back to Yahweh. Nah. Didn't work that way, right? Who was the other God during the time of Noah? I don't know, right? Obviously it was a Satan, a deceiver. Get what I'm saying? Obviously. But they even went up to the door, attempted to break the door down. But Yah controlled the animals. He put into the animals' minds to go and push the people back, and then they were all destroyed. Now, the purpose of going back to the days of Noah and comparing it to the days of Moses is to try and get an understanding of what the people thought. They obviously thought the Israelites was coming out of a polytheistic culture, right? Like we've said before. So they believed that there was other gods, right? During this time, we know about the Nephilim. We know about the fallen angels. They were more than likely worshiping fallen angels, right? Outside of the Most High, right? So there is some similarities there. There were deities there during the time of Moses, and then there were also deities there during the time of Noah. All right, and so because of the lack of action that they saw from Yahweh, they went and began to worship and serve other gods, right? So let's go back even more and go to the time of Adam and Eve when they were punished, right, for making another deity, right, their main deity, this serpent, this other doctrine that they adopted, right? There were two in the garden. There was the tree of knowledge of garden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I cannot talk right now. Which is representative of some people say Hashatan. I'm just going to say Satan, or the deceiver. And then there's the tree of life, which represents the Most High, Yahweh, right? And obviously we know what happened with Adam and Eve. They, quote unquote, they spiritually died, right? They now have to endure death. You get what I'm saying? Because they chose to worship another God besides Yahweh, right? Also in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, I want to go, Nimrod, the people after the flood, right, was gathered together by a deity-like figure. He was a man, but he was a deity-like figure named Nimrod, who brought them all together, and they wanted to go up. They wanted to go up into heaven to overthrow the Most High, to make them a name in heaven so that they would not be destroyed off of the face of the earth again, right? So they chose to worship another deity-like figure. This was an actual man. They chose to worship another deity. The Bible calls Nimrod a mighty hunter before Yahweh, right? You see the similarities in language there? A mighty hunter before Yahweh. Sort of like there should be no other gods before Yahweh. You get what I'm saying? Or besides Yahweh. No other God, period. But the people decided to come together again, just like in the days of Noah, just like in the days of Moses, to worship other deities, to go against obviously laws that had been set forth before them. And even I don't believe this, but there has to be some sort of morality, even if they did not believe in the Most High. Could be not. I don't know. Like I said, that ain't proven. But we see from the fallen angels, we see from Hethar, we see from Happy, we see from Nimrod that there is other doctrine out there besides the doctrine of the Most High, or the truth of the Most High. You get what I'm saying? And people are choosing to worship other gods and other doctrine and mythology besides the truth of the Most High Yahweh. You get what I'm saying? Solomon, or Wisdom of Solomon, 1927. And I'm reading from my notes here. Wisdom of Solomon 1927 says the worshiping of idols is the beginning, the cause, and the end of evil. So that solidifies what was going on during Adam and Eve, during Noah, during Moses, during Nimrod, right? They had to be making idols. There was even a story that in the book of, I believe in the book of Jasher, like I said, if you haven't read the book of Jasher, read the book of Jasher. It gives a detailed account of Abraham's life, right? He was a destroyer of idols. You get what I'm saying? And this is ultimately why he came out of his father's house, right? Because his father was, I think he was an idol maker, or a carver of statues and things like that, right? But Wisdom of Solomon, let's read that again. Wisdom of Solomon 1927? No, 14. Wisdom of Solomon 14:27. It says the worshiping of idols is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. Right? Going aside from the Most High, the law of the Most High, going aside, getting another deity that you place in priority before the Most High, or instead of the Most High, or quote unquote Antichrist. Get what I'm saying? Getting another deity that you prioritize over the Most High is the beginning, it is the cause, and it's the end of all evil. All right, when you read from the book of Judges through the book of Second Chronicles, it will give you a ton of history. You're gonna start seeing patterns when you do this. It will give you a ton of history and patterns of evil kings and evil judges that led Israel astray through the worshiping of idols and the worshiping of other gods. Right? There was only a few kings and a few judges that actually followed, that prioritized the Most High Yahweh first, as the first commandment commands us to do, or tells us to do, right? Like Josiah and Hezekiah, right? They cut down all these high places and temples and statues, right, to gods like Baal or Baal, who is depicted as a bull or as a calf, right? Going back to Moses, you get what I'm saying? But I think that there were like 39 kings from the book of Kings all the way through, or the book of First Kings all the way through the Second Kings, right? There were 39 kings. 39 of them, or 31 of them, I believe, was bad. Josiah, Hezekiah, a couple others were actually good and did the will of the Most High, put the Most High first. Right, but there were 39 kings, a total of 39 kings, and most of them were evil, which means they did not put Yahweh first. Now, all of this worshiping of false and fake and other gods they did, here is why kings like Josiah tore down these statues, these figures of idolatry, right? Here's why they, not only because it was the first commandment and they were commanded not to worship other gods, but they knew what would happen if they did. Now, think of it as a marriage, right? Someone gives you a law. These laws are made to uphold that marriage, keep the marriage straight and steady, right? Pretty much bring civilization to that marriage, right? You get what I'm saying? Bring order and structure to that marriage. You get what I'm saying? It's the same thing with what Yahweh was doing. There had to be some sort of civilization. There had to be some sort of order and structure, right? And kings like Josiah, Hezekiah, they understood what would happen if they did not prioritize Yahweh first. If they did not put into action, thou should not worship any other gods. If they didn't do it, and here's why they knew it, because it's written. Deuteronomy 28:15-68 tells us what's going to happen to Israel as a nation, right? If they did not put Yahweh first. It talks about things like if they served other gods, the kingdom will absolutely fall. The children of the kingdom are going to go into slavery. They're going to endure famine. They're going to endure pestilence and sicknesses. They're going to lose their understanding of who they are. Why would they lose their understanding of who they are? Why? Because they're going to be scattered into a whole lot of different nations. They're going to have no knowledge of the Most High, right? And they're going to pass that no knowledge of the Most High down through generations, right? They're going to forget about who they were. These are things that's prophesied in Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 68, right? Daughters will be raped. They're going to be slaves to help build up other nations and other kingdoms, right? And the sons and daughters are going to be given to other people. You know, they're not going to have any might, any structure, any power anymore to fight these things. Why? Because they lost their provision. They put trust into woods and stone idols, gold and wood and stone idols, right? They went to idolatry. Jeremiah said these things can neither talk, breathe, eat, smell, touch, see, nothing, but they put trust into these things, right? And so these curses, right? Here's one curse that sticks out a lot. Here's the kicker, right? Because of the worship of other gods, specifically in Deuteronomy 28:36, Yah will put them into slavery to a nation who they have not known, right? Neither you or your ancestors. KJV says, you or your fathers, you're going to go into slavery to a nation you have not known, right? And here's the kicker. You're going to worship gods of wood and stone. So, because you chose not to worship Yahweh first and put other gods, one of the curses is that you're going to worship gods of wood and stone. You get what I'm saying? What does that mean, though? You are cursed with the mindset that you fell away anyway with, right? He cursed you to have a mindset to want to worship other gods. What does that mean? Romans 1:28. You are cursed permanently with a mindset to worship other gods. Romans 1:28. And as they did not see fit to have Yahweh in their knowledge, Yah gave them over to a reprobate mindset. What does that mean? He said, you know what? Go ahead and do you, bruh. Work the wicked in your imagination. He gave them a permanent mind to want to worship gods of wood and stone, who Jeremiah explained that they cannot see, they can't hear, they have no power, they have no might, they have nothing, right? If one of your idols that you created breaks, what are you going to do? You're going to create another one. You're going to buy another one. You get what I'm saying? 2 Thessalonians 10:11 explains, Yah will send them a strong delusion, so that they will believe lies. Does that sound like a reprobate mindset to you? Romans 1:28. As they did not see fit to have Yahweh in their knowledge. They didn't even want to think about Yahweh. Adam and Eve didn't want to think about Yahweh until he showed up. and he was about to give them punishment. The people that approached Noah's ark and said, let us in, we go break down the doors. They said Yahweh don't exist. The people of Nimrod went away from, or the people that Nimrod gathered together went away from serving the Most High and agreed to go up to heaven to overthrow Yahweh. And then he, obviously came down and destroyed that place by giving them all different languages and calling that place Babel. But they decided to do away with Yahweh from their mind, right? Romans 1:28, Romans 1:28, as they did not see fit to have Yahweh in their mindset or in their knowledge. The people waiting for Moses to come back down from the mountain with the law, they got restless. They had to say, hey, what's going on with Moses? Yahweh probably don't exist. Let's go into idolatry. Let's build us a calf. Some calf that we seen in Egypt. You get what I'm saying? This is a reprobate mindset. God gave you a permanent mind to believe lies. You want to believe that these statues and groves and poles and stones and stuff, they can breathe, walk, talk, and all that stuff? Believe it. You want to believe that they have power? You believe it now. When you tell a lie so long and so much, you begin to believe it, right? Reprobate means one that is rejected or not approved by God, who is abandoned by Yah. Yah said, nah. Do you, bruh? You get what I'm saying? So, because you chose to do the things that are evil, which is serving other God, he will permanently give you a mind that you desire to have more than him. You understand what I'm saying? So, reprobate mindset, just it means God has said, I'm good with you. Do we want to be in that position? How do we get this mindset? How do we get this mindset? By believing Yah doesn't exist. By putting the works of our own hands as our gods. You understand what I'm saying? So, since completely going into slavery, and I'm going to cover some history in Kings, right? So, since completely going into slavery, after Judah and Israel carrying away into Assyria and Babylon, you could read this in 2 Kings 5. Well, read the whole 2 Kings, right? But 2 Kings 5 and 2 through 23 explains when Israel went to slavery, and then Judah, 2 Kings chapter 24, right? Here's how we forget Here's how we forgot who we were. Okay? Here is how we forgot who we were. Deuteronomy 4 and 27, right? And this is going to explain why Judah and Israel went into slavery. Israel as a whole went into slavery, right? Deuteronomy 4:27. We would be taken into slavery around the whole entire world, the four corners of the world. That's north, east, west, and south. Everywhere in the world, Israel was going to be taken in slavery into. Why? Because we worshiped other gods. So what is the lie that we keep telling ourselves that's causing Yah to give us over to a reprobate mind, to an unchanging mind? That there are other gods that we can serve, that these idols have some sort of power, have some sort of control over us, right? Israel, during the time of Moses, said in their mind, hey, listen, watch this. They watched Aaron build something out of gold. They watched him do it. So they knew that this thing did not breathe, eat. It had no power. They watched him melt down their gold and make it into a calf, into a cow, a bull. They watched him do it. And they still said, this is our God who brought us out of Egypt. In my belief that God was happy. The God of the Nile, and they probably crossed the Nile River, which is the large body of water that it's spoken about when it dried up. Why? Because they believed that Happy, the God of the Nile, dried up the water so they can get across. But that's just my angle. Could be true, could be not. They did worship a calf after coming out of Egypt, though. Right? So what is the lie? The lie is believing that there are other gods out there. There are other gods out there that have some sort of power over you, that have some sort of control over you, other than the God of our ancestors, other than the God of Israel. You get what I'm saying? We don't believe because of lack of action, because we don't see things instantly, that Yahweh doesn't exist, or that he does exist. We don't believe he does exist. You get what I'm saying? So going into other nations has never been more true than in the New Testament. When we get to the New Testament, from the time that Judah and Israel went into slavery, we were still there getting into the New Testament. Right? We had never come back to being one complete nation. We had completely fallen. Right? Were there still some people were we still celebrating feast days and coming back to Jerusalem? Yeah, but we were in so many other parts of the world when I don't believe that it was intended for us to be that way, right? Why? Because it was a curse. It was a curse that we were supposed to go into a whole ton of different lands. You get what I'm saying? Deuteronomy 4:24 and 27, right? Here is some proof that we went into different lands. In Acts chapter 2, during the Feast of Pentecost, right? When the Spirit fell down and disciples they began to speak in other languages. We call it tongues. They begin to speak in other languages, right? And the people who were watching them, right? They were astonished. They were amazed. They were shocked that these people were doing it. And these people came from all different parts of the world. How do we know? Because they said it came from Egypt and Medes and all these different places. right? Actually, let me grab that real quick so I can list, so I can name off. I'm gonna name off some places that they were from, just to prove that we were in other nations. So, got my Touch Bible here. Get this Touch Bible. It actually, words that you may question, they have underlining words that you can touch, and it'll give you definitions. It'll give you the the Hebrew definition. It'll give you the concordance where you can find it. I like to use the concordance. I have a concordance as well, but when I'm on a go, I use this Touch Bible. I think I paid like 99 cents for it. So let's go to Acts chapter 2. It says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of the rushing wind, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house, and they were all sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it set upon each of them. They were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and they began to speak with tongues or other languages as the spirits gave them utterance. And here's the part, verse 5, Acts chapter 2 and 5. And there was dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Right? So they were Jews. They were people of Israel. They were blood Israelites from around the world that came back to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of Pentecost. Right? Here are some of the places they were from. Let's go down to verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites and dwellers of Mesopotamia and in Judea and in Cappadocia and in Pontus and in Asia and in Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt and parts of Libya and Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. They heard them speak in their languages, right? So these Israelites that were scattered around the world, around the nations, around in different countries, right? In different countries, they came back to celebrate the feast of not Passover, but of Pentecost. And obviously, if you're born somewhere, for example, if I'm born in Asia and I'm a native to Asia, right, I'm going to speak some sort of Asian tongue or Asian language, right? So that means the disciples was up there speaking in the dialect of which I'm used to, or the language that I'm used to, or that I was brought up understanding. You get what I'm saying? So that's proof there that Israelites were in other nations, fulfilling the prophecy of the curse in Deuteronomy 4:27, that if we did not put Yahweh first, we will be scattered amongst other nations. You get what I'm saying? So more proof that we went into other nations were the letters and writings of Paul, right? Paul wrote to the Ephesians, to the Corinthians, right? He wrote to the Romans. He wrote to all these churches set up in all these other, at this time, Gentile nations, right? He wrote to the Hebrews in those nations. You get what I'm saying? And Paul visited. During Paul's traveling, he went to a whole bunch of different nations, speaking to Israel. Now, I believe that he spoke to blood Gentiles too, and some of them converted over. Those are the ones that want to sojourn with us, become as one born in the land, keep the days, in the case of Cornelius, or keep the feast days in the case of Cornelius, follow our laws in the case of Cornelius. A lot of Hebrew Israelites, I don't like using that term, but a lot of people like to teach that Cornelius was a northern kingdom, or he was a descendant of the kingdom of Israel, northern kingdom. I don't believe that, because the language is a little, it doesn't support it. The language that's written, when it talks about Cornelius, it just doesn't support him being northern kingdom, and that's another lesson for another time, right? But the letters of Paul went to churches in these different Gentile cities. Paul traveled to all these Gentile cities, preaching and teaching the law of the Most High. You get what I'm saying? Prior to this, before this, Israel used to be one nation, right? They were one banner under Jerusalem, right? Now, they were still coming back. Now, at this time, during Paul, Jerusalem was obviously under Roman rulership, right? But they were still able to keep their feast days, not up until 70 AD, where Jerusalem was taken down, right? But let me ask you, how does any of this relate to us today? Right? How does this affect us today? We're still worshiping and serving other gods. We're still worshiping and serving other gods. You get what I'm saying? We're still worshiping and serving other gods. We celebrate holy holidays like Christmas, which is the offspring of Saturnalia, right? Which is a week-long Roman festival to the god Saturn. You get what I'm saying? We still worship. We take on this custom of celebrating Christmas, right? Which is Saturn is the I think it's the fertility god, or the farming and harvest god of Rome. You get what I'm saying? Which included gift giving and feasting and sacrifices, and these are all vain sacrifices that we do, right? Christmas in ancient Babylon was about a woman named Semiramis, who was the wife of the biblical figure Nimrod, who we talked about earlier. When Nimrod died, Semiramis got pregnant and said that that she had a baby after she got pregnant, right? And this baby was named Tammuz, who she's told the people was the reincarnation of Nimrod. This baby Tammuz was born on December 25th. Remember, Nimrod was a deity-like figure. He was someone the people worshipped as a god. He was a figure of the Antichrist. He put himself on the same level as the Most High, which is why he is the only figure that wanted to go up into heaven and take over heaven and put the people's name there, put his name there so they wouldn't be wiped away. Didn't happen, but he gave it a try. He's the only figure in the whole Bible that wanted to ascend into heaven and take over, right? Semiramis supposedly got pregnant by a spirit. Virgin Mary? Could be. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. What do you think? This was a way to keep the power over the people because Nimrod was looked at as a god. She also said that the spirit that spirit of Nimrod visited an evergreen tree that popped up instantly the day after his death. And Nimrod supposedly comes back every December 25th, right? And puts Christmas tree or presents and things under that Christmas tree. All right. Jeremiah 10. And I'm going to actually get Jeremiah 10. I'm going to get that because I want to read that specifically. I'm going to read my Sefer so that you guys can get a you can hear like the difference in language. Jeremiah 10. Hear ye the word which Yahweh speaks unto you, O house of Yasharal. Thus says Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the custom of the people are vain, for one cuts a tree out of the forest. Sounds like an evergreen tree to me. The works of the hand of the workman, of the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails, so that nails and a hammer, that it moves not. They are upright just like the palm tree, but they speak not. They must not be born, right? They can't talk. They are made with hands. They're not born. They cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. Like they're nothing. This is a tree. It's a tree. It's a tree. Right? It's a tree. They can't do anything. It's a tree. This is a piece of wood that you did just sat up in your house, nailed it down to the ground, put all this beautiful stuff on it, right? Which is a picture of Satan, Hashatan, right? Who trusted in his own beauty. Also, the tree in in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which was a beautiful tree. Eve saw that it was good for fruit, or not that the fruit was good. I'm sure it was delicious, but the knowledge that this thing gave off, the knowledge that the doctrine that this tree taught, just so happens right here in Jeremiah, it tells us not to take on the customs of the people, of the heathen, who cuts down the tree, Garden of Eden, tree of knowledge of good and evil. This tree thing is crazy, right? Get what I'm saying? Get what the scripts are saying? Jeremiah 10:2-3 talks about the heathen customs, cutting down the tree, decorating it, nailing it to the ground. Does that sound like a Christmas tree to you? You understand what I'm saying? December 25th is supposed to be the birth date of 1. Nimrod, 2. Horus, the Roman deities Sol Invictus, Mithra, which is an Iranian or Persian god, Jesus Christ, which I'm not going to go into why Jesus is not the name right now, but these are all other gods worshipped in ignorance, and we continuously do it, right? So what we're doing now is the same thing they were doing back then, which got the kingdom of Israel put under curses. Deuteronomy 28:15-68. Go read the curses. All these things happen to Israel as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? We do these things ignorantly. These are gods of wood that we carve and we fashion ourselves, just like Moses did. We carve and we fashion ourselves. Gods of wood, the cross that we wear around our necks, which was a murder weapon of the Roman political system. Just think of it. Had Yahusha died by lethal injection, we will all be wearing syringes around our necks and worshiping this syringe. Get what I'm saying? The Christian cross we all wear around our necks. The black stone of Mecca, our people are Muslims. They go out they have to make this pilgrimage once in their lifetime to Mecca to see this big black stone, to walk around it, I guess. Forgot what they call it. But these are symbols of other gods. That stone in Mecca can't do anything. That cross cannot do anything for you. Wood and stone. These are symbols of other gods. I can show you Islam in the Bible, right? And how it relates to the Midianites and or Ishmaelites. And how their camels wore necklaces, how themselves and their camels wore necklaces of the crescent moon. Descendants of Ishmael, which the black Muslims, the American Muslims, claim to be descendants of. Right? But that's for another time, judges. That's for another time. You get what I'm saying? As well as a true understanding of the name Jesus, Iosis, Earth Pig. That's for another time, right? Easter is coming up in a couple months, right? It's coming up in a couple months. We're all about to prepare. And I just skipped right over Valentine's Day, which is next month. But Easter, coming up in a couple months, right? It's a celebration of Ashara, right? The mother goddess, the goddess of sex and fertility. Did we talk about that before? The goddess of sex and fertility and love. You get what I'm saying? Israel built high places, beginning with King Solomon. Unfortunately, beginning with King Solomon, built high places. You get what I'm saying? Built high places, temples, and took trees and carved them up. Wood or stone. Look up Asherah's pole. Or Asherah poles. Now, in your Bible, it'll say grove, but when you click on grove, when you click on grove, or when you look up the Hebrew meaning for grove, it'll say Asherah poles. I say Asherah. I don't know why I say that, but it'll say Asherah poles or Asherah, which is the goddess of sex, love, fertility, the mother goddess, things like that. You get what I'm saying? Semiramis. Right? These are statues that the Israelites were supposed to cut down when they entered into the promised land in Exodus 34:13, to go there to see the word groves, right? They were going into the new land and so they can take over, right? And so that we don't worship and we don't go after those statues. The Most High told us to cut them down and do away with them. right? This is where you're going to see the word Asherah. Now, it's going to say in your King James Version, grove, when you read Exodus 34:13. It's going to say grove. But look up the Hebrew word H0842. H0842. It's going to say Asherah. Okay? This is, Asherah is another word for, when you look up, when you do your research on Easter, it's going to say Astarte, Ishtar, Ashtoreth, Easter. These are all the same name in different language: Babylonian, English, Persian, Phoenician, things like that. These are all the same name of different languages. Just so happens we primarily speak English, so the name is Easter. The customs are still the same. Right? It's the exact same deity being worshipped. The same deity that our ancestors, that the ancient Israelites worshiped, that our ancestors, get what I'm saying? Our ancestors worshiped. It's the exact same deity. And we're still lusting after it, right? Right? And years after Exodus, years after King Josiah, we talked about him. 2 Kings 2, 2 Kings 23, 13, and 14. This is where you're going to see the actual word, Ashtoreth. You'll see the actual word Ashtoreth. Just look it up. Right? He broke down the Asherim, right? Which is just Asherim and Asherah. It's just Asherim. It's just the plural of Asherah, just the plural, meaning there were multiple statues in different places. He broke them all down. Right? Again, you'll in place of Asherah, you'll see groves, but also you'll see Ashtoreth. You'll see the actual word Ashtoreth. It's the same thing as Asherah. And here we are, years later, just under the guise of Easter, under the name Easter. We're still worshiping this goddess of sex and lust. We're still putting another god before the Most High. What ultimately happened to Israel? We talked about it. We went into slavery. We built other nations. We were raped and killed and destroyed. The whole nation of Israel fell because we chose to worship other gods that can neither see, smell, think. They were elements of the earth. They were stone and wood. In the days of Moses. Like, how many people watched? How many Israelites do you believe watched other Israelites build with their own two hands, statues and put them up? How many people you think watch that? And they go into them and they bow down their faces to them. They worship them. I literally, that's like me making this microphone, this other microphone here, putting it right here. I built it with my own hands. I put it right here and I said, hey, you did everything for me ever in life. You are the reason I live. Come on now. We no longer put up statues, not in modern time. We no longer put up statues, but we still worship. We still do the same customs, right? She's still the goddess of fertility and sex, which is symbolized, which she is symbolized as first, before she is, look, go to your Google, type in Asherah, Asherah. what's going to pop up is a little statue, right? A little statue. It's going to pop up a little statue of a woman who is the goddess of sex and love and fertility, holding her breast, holding her vagina, her private parts. It's no wonder why she's the goddess of sex and love, right? Can you say ancient porn? Can you say ancient porn? No, like seriously though. Can you say ancient porn? That's what it looks like to me. Now I don't know if they was, getting down with them things, but hey, I don't know. But this goddess of sex and love and fertility and baby making and motherhood is they're statues with her holding her breast and her private parts in sexual manners, in a sexual way that makes you want to desire her. She's made out of a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve lusted. She desired this tree. It just so happens she's built out of wood. Get what I'm saying? We put other deities, things that we fashion in our imaginations and in our minds before the Most High. She's symbolized by a rabbit. A rabbit is the symbol of fertility. So you may see her as a rabbit as well. Right? So where'd the eggs come from? Well, because the Babylonians believed that a giant egg fell down from heaven into the great river Euphrates, right? The fish pushed it up from the river and onto dry land, and when it opened, boom, guess who popped out? Asherah, Astarte, came out of the egg, right? That's why we have eggs. Or a little chicken, which she's symbolized by that too, right? In Greek mythology, I think Venus came out. In Roman mythology, Venus came out, and in Greek mythology, Aphrodite came out. You get what I'm saying? The same God, again, different languages. During this time, they spoke Latin, so Aphrodite, right? English, Easter. You get what I'm saying? These gods, they appeal to our lust. They appeal to our imagination. As Jeremiah described, they can't do nothing, right? They can't see, smell, taste. They have no power. They're made with your own hands, devised by your own imagination. You get what I'm saying? They appeal to your lust. That's probably why she has her breast and vagina hanging out. The true meaning of fornication, the true meaning of adultery, is worshiping other gods, lusting, going after other gods. Them guys are deadbeats. They can't do nothing for you. What they can do for you is only in your imagination. But we do these things ignorantly. They appeal to our selfishness. They appeal to the delusion that's in us. They appeal to this reprobate mindset we have. They appeal to this what does Second Thessalonians say? They appeal to us because we choose to have no knowledge of Yahweh, our one true God, who we cannot see. If we can feel him, we can't see him, which is why folks probably went after things that they can see, feel, touch, and stuff like that because they needed to have something tangible in front of them because they cannot see him. Because they cannot see him, they have no faith. And so they choose to go after, they choose to create and go after gods made with their own imagination. They appeal to that reprobate mindset. You get what I'm saying? Here's what the true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, here's what he commands of us, right? Revelation 18:4. Come out of her, my people, that you are not partakers of her sin and that you receive not of her plagues. This her he's talking about is a religious system of confusion. It's called Babylon. Why do you think he called it Babel way back in the day of Nimrod? It's confusion. Why do you think he said these people will not be restrained to do things that they have imagined? Babylon, which is full of false and fake gods, made with the hands of man, based in their own imaginations and appeals to their own lust. The true people of God, Israel, would do as he command. They're going to do what he command with the first commandment. There should be no other gods before him. I just gave you a whole bunch of historical evidence mixed with some modern evidence that these gods that they celebrated way back then, which caused them to fall and caused them to go into slavery for 400 years, hint, 430 years, slavery and oppression, got their kingdom to fall. They have no might. Their children's given to other people. They're going to build houses and not live in them. They're going to build other nations. They're going to worship other gods and other made of wood and stones in other nations. They're going to be all around the world. I just gave you evidence dating from thousands of years ago and how we're still doing the stupid things that they did back then by putting other gods first. It's causing us to fall. It's causing us to fall. It has caused us to fall. How are we going to get back? How are we going to get back to the people we once were, to the nation we once were? Putting Yahweh first. And not digging into our own imaginations, trying to devise some plan to mix it in with what we want to believe, right? And we're having itching ears and things like that. You understand what I'm saying? So this has been a breakdown of the first commandment. And I've shown you what happens when we break that first commandment. When we say we no longer want the provision of the Most High Yah, we're saying we don't want to be a nation. We're saying we don't want to be civilized. We're saying we want to take after the customs of other people. We're saying we want to live by our own imagination. We're saying that we want to be a people of nothing. You get what I'm saying? But we all have repentance. We all have repentance. So if you've been caught up in this Babylonian system of confusion, of religious and spiritual confusion, you can still come out. How can you do this? Putting Yahweh first. You put Yahweh first and start to understand his laws. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. I am Zay. I see y'all next time. I actually did cover a lot of the second one. I'm gonna go. Let me go back to Exodus real quick. Let me go back to Exodus real quick. So yeah, I covered Exodus 3 through 6. Exodus 20, verse 3 through 6, right? Which is the first commandment. You should not have any other gods before Elohim or before Elohim or Yahweh. You should not make unto you any graven images. I've covered that already. Or any likeness that thereof that is in the heavens or in the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. I'll probably get into a little bit of that next time. You should not bow down yourself to them, nor worship them, for I am Yahweh Elohika. I am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. I've covered it. I'm going to pick up next time. You shall not bring the name Yahweh Elohika to naught, or you should not use his name in vain. All right, y'all. I will see y'all next time. This is Z. This is the Natural Order. Peace out.